If a nursery sells a fruit tree, most people assume it must be legal to plant, but that is not always true. Across America, certain fruit-bearing plants are restricted because of what they can spread into farms and forests. One familiar pie berry requires advance approval in parts of the country. Another led to more than 500 million bushes being destroyed. And number one became a common neighborhood tree before several states stopped people from planting it. There's a good chance you have already seen one. Let's start our countdown. Number 12. Himalayan blackberry. This blackberry produces the kind of fruit most people would happily pick from a roadside. The berries are large, sweet, and completely edible, but the plant carrying them can become an impenetrable wall of thorny canes. Originally introduced for fruit production, Himalayan blackberry spread aggressively across the Pacific Northwest. Its canes can extend many feet in one season, then form new roots wherever their tips touch the ground. Birds and mammals carry the seeds even farther. The resulting thickets crowd out native vegetation, block access to land, and make trails, fences, and field edges difficult to maintain. The legal situation depends heavily on location. In Washington, Himalayan blackberry is a Class C noxious weed, but whether landowners must control it depends on local county rules. Wisconsin takes a stronger approach and classifies Himalayan blackberry as a prohibited invasive species. Without a permit, state rules prohibit possessing, transporting, transferring, or introducing it. That makes our first entry a genuine edible blackberry attached to a plant that cannot legally be introduced in at least one state. But number 11 is not valued for its fruit. Its dark berries resemble wild cherries, and they help the decorative shrub invade forests and wetlands across the northern states. Number 11. Glossy buckthorn. Glossy buckthorn was introduced as an ornamental shrub. It survived wet ground, tolerated difficult conditions, and remained green longer than many native plants. In landscaped areas, those qualities seemed useful. In wetlands, they allowed the shrub to form thick walls of vegetation. Glossy buckthorn opens its leaves early in spring and keeps them late into fall. It captures sunlight before many native plants fully wake up and continues growing after surrounding vegetation has gone dormant. Its dark berries allow the shrub to move beyond the original property. Birds consume the fruit and leave viable seeds throughout wetlands, forest openings, and disturbed land. Wisconsin classifies glossy buckthorn as a restricted invasive species. People cannot legally buy, sell, transport, or introduce it there without authorization. Minnesota, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Vermont also regulate glossy buckthorn in different ways. Its close relative followed a more familiar path. Instead of being associated mainly with wetlands, number 10 was deliberately planted around American homes because it promised something nearly every homeowner wanted: privacy. Number 10. Common buckthorn. Common buckthorn once appeared to be an ideal hedge. It tolerated cold winters, survived poor soil, and grew thick enough to form a natural barrier between neighboring properties. Then its berries carried it out of American yards. The fruit contains compounds with a strong laxative effect. It moves through birds quickly, leaving viable seeds along fence lines, forest edges, and abandoned ground. Once established, common buckthorn forms dense growth that blocks sunlight and competes with native plants. A hedge planted beside one house can eventually contribute to an infestation far beyond that property. Common buckthorn is regulated in states including Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, and Massachusetts. The exact restriction varies, but it can cover selling, transporting, propagating, or deliberately introducing the plant. An existing wild shrub is not always treated the same as someone intentionally planting a regulated species. That distinction matters throughout this countdown. If you enjoy carefully researched stories about the plants, crops, and machines that shape rural America, subscribe to America Glow. We check the real history and the real rules behind every story. Number 9. Brazilian Peppertree. Brazilian Peppertree produces heavy clusters of bright red berries. Its colorful branches have even appeared in seasonal decorations, but it is not the plant that gives us ordinary black pepper. It belongs to the same botanical family as poison ivy, and its sap can irritate sensitive skin. In Florida, however, its ability to dominate open land creates the larger concern. Brazilian peppertree forms dense stands across pine lands, agricultural property, and mangrove edges. Native plants lose access to sunlight and space, while landowners face thick growth that can be difficult to clear. Florida lists Brazilian peppertree as a noxious weed. Nursery sales are prohibited, and its movement is regulated. The rule does not mean every existing wild tree automatically makes a property owner a criminal. Its purpose is to stop people from selling and spreading the plant into new areas. Florida's restrictions are serious, yet the next fruit became a federal agricultural concern. It looks like a miniature watermelon, and during the 1990s, it spread across pasture land at an astonishing rate. Number 8. Tropical soda apple. Tropical soda apple looks like an unusual garden crop. Its round green fruit carries pale markings like a tiny watermelon, then turns yellow as it matures. Behind that harmless appearance is a thorny plant capable of taking over valuable grazing land. It was detected in Florida in 1988. By 1992, approximately 150,000 acres were believed to be infested. About a decade later, USDA documents estimated that it had spread across more than 1 million acres. Cattle and wildlife carried the seeds through their waste, while contaminated hay, manure, soil, and farm equipment moved them between properties. For livestock producers, an infestation reduced usable grazing land and made pasture management more difficult. Tropical soda apple was added to the federal noxious weed list in 1995. Federal rules restrict its importation and interstate movement, while possession, research, or intentional release can require USDA authorization. Unlike tropical soda apple, the next shrub was introduced deliberately. Government agencies once planted it because they believed it would control erosion, feed wildlife, and improve damaged land. Number 7. Autumn olive. Autumn olive produces red berries covered with tiny silver dots. The ripe fruit is tart but edible, and some foragers use it in jam, sauce, and fruit leather. The shrub was introduced from Asia and planted for wildlife habitat, erosion control, and the restoration of disturbed ground. Bacteria around its roots helped it obtain usable nitrogen, allowing it to survive where many other plants struggled. That advantage also allowed autumn olive to invade low nitrogen environments and change soil conditions native plants had adapted to over generations. Birds then carried its berries far beyond the original planting sites. Wisconsin and Michigan classify autumn olive as restricted. Virginia lists it as a noxious weed, meaning moving it into or within the state requires authorization. The berries may be edible, but the living shrub cannot be freely transported or introduced wherever these rules apply. Number 6 presents an even stranger contradiction. It is a familiar pie berry, yet planting one can require written approval. Number 6. Gooseberry. Gooseberries have been used in pies, jams, and preserves for generations. The fruit itself is harmless to eat. The concern is what the living plant can help spread to nearby pine trees. White pine blister rust cannot complete its life cycle on pine alone. It also needs a second host, which can be a gooseberry or a currant bush. Once the fungus reaches a susceptible white pine, it can form cankers, damage branches, and eventually kill the tree. That made these berry bushes a major concern in regions where white pine held enormous value. Gooseberries are legal across much of America, but not every variety can be planted everywhere. New Hampshire requires anyone wishing to plant approved rebe species and varieties to obtain a permit in advance. Only listed varieties can receive approval. Michigan also requires a permit for gooseberries planted inside its designated white pine blister rust control counties. Permits are issued only for varieties considered highly resistant to the disease. The legal answer, therefore, depends on the variety, its resistance, and where someone wants to grow it. The next shrub was planted for beauty rather than food. Its red berries looked attractive through winter, but Pennsylvania eventually stopped its sale and planting. Number 5. Japanese barberry. Japanese barberry became popular because it was compact, colorful, and difficult for deer to eat. It appeared around homes and shopping centers, with red berries that remained visible after many other plants lost their color. Those berries carried it beyond landscape properties, and dense barberry growth began appearing beneath forest trees. Once established, Japanese barberry competed with native plants and changed conditions close to the ground. Research has also associated heavy infestations with habitat favorable to ticks and the small mammals that host them. Pennsylvania prohibits its sale, transport, planting, and propagation. Wisconsin classifies it as restricted, while some states permit selected varieties that produce little or no viable seed. But number 4 carries an even more surprising history. Americans were once encouraged to plant it on farms and along highways. Number 4. Multiflora rose. Multiflora rose produces white flowers followed by clusters of small red rose hips. During the 20th century, government agencies promoted it for erosion control, wildlife cover, and living fences. Farmers were told its thorny growth could help contain livestock. It was also planted along highways to reduce headlight glare, but it did not remain where people placed it. Its long stems rooted whenever they touched the soil, while seeds reached pastures and forest edges. Multiflora rose eventually formed enormous thorny thickets. What had been planted to protect farmland was now swallowing pasture, catching equipment, and blocking livestock from usable ground. Illinois prohibits buying, selling, distributing, or planting multiflora rose without a permit. Wisconsin also regulates it as a restricted invasive species. Number 3. Common barberry. In Persian and Middle Eastern cooking, common barberry is valued for its tart red berries. To American wheat farmers, however, the same shrub once represented something entirely different. Common barberry is an alternate host for wheat stem rust. The fungus can use the shrub to complete part of its life cycle, create new genetic combinations, and then return to wheat. The 1916 stem rust epidemic was associated with a reduction of roughly 200 million bushels across Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana. Federal and state governments responded with a vast eradication campaign. Crews searched farms, fence lines, and old homesteads for susceptible bushes. Over the life of the program, more than 500 million barberry plants were reportedly destroyed. The nationwide campaign was eventually phased out, but federal restrictions still control interstate movement into designated protected areas. Those protected areas include Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming, along with specified counties in Washington. Susceptible barberry entering these areas requires inspection and certification from USDA or a state agency. Approved rust-resistant varieties may be allowed, which is why the exact species and variety matter. Number 2. Blackcurrant. Black currants have a deep flavor and contain high levels of vitamin C. Around the world, they are used in juice, jam, candy, sauces, and creme de cassis. Yet for much of the 20th century, many Americans rarely saw them. The same disease that placed gooseberries under permit rules affected black currants even more strongly. European blackcurrant is especially susceptible to white pine blister rust, making it an effective second host for the fungus. As the disease threatened pine forests, federal quarantines and eradication programs restricted the cultivation and movement of rabies plants. The nationwide federal restriction ended in 1966, but state-level controls survived. Michigan provides a clear-currant example. A permit is required before planting black currants anywhere in the state. Permits are issued only for varieties shown to be highly resistant to white pine blister rust. This means a blackcurrant variety may be legal without special approval in one state, but require written permission in Michigan. Number 1. Callery pear. Number 1 is the Callery pear, the species behind the Bradford pear planted across American neighborhoods. For decades, it appeared to be the perfect landscape tree. It grew quickly, tolerated urban conditions, and covered itself in white flowers every spring. Early Bradford pears appeared unlikely to spread because one Bradford pear generally could not pollinate another. That changed when nurseries introduced different Callery pear varieties. Once those varieties grew near each other, cross-pollination became possible. The trees produced viable fruit, and birds carried the seeds into fields, roadsides, and forest edges. The wild offspring did not always resemble the neat trees sold by nurseries. They formed dense, often thorny thickets that crowded out other plants and made invaded ground difficult to use. Ohio prohibited the sale, propagation, distribution, importation, and intentional spread of Callery pear beginning in January 2023. Pennsylvania also prohibits its sale, transport, planting, and propagation. South Carolina ended nursery sales of Callery pear in October 2024. These rules do not mean every homeowner with an old Bradford pear will be arrested or fined. Their purpose is to stop nurseries and property owners from deliberately creating the next generation. That is what makes Callery pear the most surprising plant on this list. It is not hidden inside a research facility. It may already be flowering at the end of your street. These plants were not restricted because their fruit tasted dangerous. Most were regulated because the living plants carried diseases, escaped into forests, or spread across valuable farmland. What makes their history remarkable is that several were once sold, promoted, or planted by government programs. Their immediate benefits were easy to see. The long-term damage took decades to appear. Which of these plants have you seen in your state? Tell us in the comments and include your state, because the rules can change across the border. Subscribe to America Glow for more carefully researched stories about American farming, machinery, crops, and rural history. I'll see you in the next one.